Hey, welcome back, everybody. And it's it's a little cloudy outside, but it is going to get better. And I actually enjoy a little bit of the cooler weather because it was mighty toasty. Talking about toasty, here's the thing: we have builders. Their sentiment is waning a little bit, but for buyers, that's absolutely great news for them because there's a lot of different incentives that are out there. And it's a great time, especially as you get towards month end. So between now and the end of the month, your greatest negotiating position with builders. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about our metrics. For those of you that like to skip to certain parts, we do have the different chapters. Make sure you click on it and feel free to watch the shorts that we create off of this. In the meantime, let's get the show on the road. Okay, so builders right now have been doing, well, modestly well. On a nationwide level, there are certain areas that have been suffering. However, in our area, actually, we're doing pretty good. And they've been kind of holding their own. But let's take a look at all of the metrics. And in fact, let's just dive into what the heck they're talking about. So, right now, builder sentiment, as you can see from the chart, in fact, let's go ahead and move that over. You can see that, during the low interest rates and whatnot in 2022, builders were just moving products off the shelf because, well, the interest rates were super low. Then as interest rates came up, you can see in the chart in 2023, it came way down. And it's been kind of bobbling along. And because we've been a very flat market, we're not seeing a lot of movement. Now, the interesting thing is that they're saying that, hey, listen, we haven't seen a streak this low below 40 since 2011 and 2012. And that is as we were coming out of the Great Recession with all of the foreclosures, everything were, as far as the inventory and whatnot, was starting to build. And so, but it was, kind of tough for builders at that time because there was a lot of resale inventory, and then that started to shift and the market started to pick back up again. Builders took a kind of a back seat to things. So when we pop over and we take a look at it, it says, with the nation's short about 1.2 million homes, builder sentiment will remain soft until barriers are eased and conditions improve for home building. Now, you might be saying, George, what the heck does all that mean? Including when they talk about the National Association of Home Builders, says the economist Robert Deed said, regulatory and policy costs continue to make it harder for builders to add supply. Now, minus Tacoma, which they came to the party, said, look, we're going to remove all the bureaucracy. We're going to allow plats to go through, and they can get plats through that takes Bellevue, Redmond, Sammamish, Issaquah, Kirkland, Bothell. It takes them, 18 months to 2 years, and Tacoma can do that in under 6 months. Super smart. Why? Because they want to get that new construction, they want to get that influx, get that middle housing in place, and they're able to do that effectively. And hey, my hat's off to them, and that's why they're seeing a massive surge of permits and different elements going into new plats going into Tacoma. Their goal is to create additional housing, and super smart. They're doing what Seattle started 20 years ago. Problem is, Seattle added bureaucracy to it, and they went the other way. Why? Who knows? But as long as Tacoma stays the course, they will become the front runner. They're 60% ahead of all the other cities right now. They had a great article in the Puget Sound Business Journal regarding that. All that set aside, let's get the show back on the road. Costs of plats, costs of development, holding costs, everything else that goes into that. Basically 26% of the cost of a home is in bureaucracy and the permits and all the garbage that goes with it, which is a significant amount. So if you were able to even carve out half of that, buyers would be able to benefit from that and affordability would be improved. Just saying. All right, let's continue. Let's get back on the road here. So basically 35% of home builders reported cutting prices. That is up from 32% in May, while the average price reduction was held at about 6%. Sales incentives are edging higher to 62% for the 15th consecutive month. Now, here's what's super interesting. we're not seeing that big of a reduction in our area. That's a nationwide number. In our area, we're probably seeing about a 3% adjustment in some plats. The more rural the plat, the more significant the pricing adjustment, especially with new plats coming online. Naturally, they want to negotiate not price necessarily, but offering you special terms, giving you credits, giving you upgrades, because they want to create and maintain plat integrity, which is super important for the people who had already bought. Just saying. All right. So if we roll over and take a look at our actual headlines, I knew I could get there. Look at this. Builder sentiment remains subdued. That's our title here on the far right. You can see that our rates actually improved. That's why it's green. Bottom left, modest rebounds and refi as mortgage rates came back down. And then, of course, mortgage rates lowest since 2014 or since May 14th. Understand, mortgage rates have, without a doubt, the biggest impact on purchasers right now. As the rates go up, they kind of hit the sidelines. As rates come back down, they surge back in. Well-priced homes still selling in 7 to 10 days. Homes that are overpriced because buyers have a lot of information, a lot of metrics out there to work with, including this channel. They have an opportunity to really kind of make sure they're making a solid business decision, right? Okay, so when we pop over, we take a look at Freddie. Freddie says, hey, listen, we've been heading in a downward trend, and we're still 1/3% better today than where we were at last year, even though, we had creeped back up again. Now, part of this, we'll see what happens with this Iran contract. Is that going to continue to improve? Because where you see the center of the chart where it started going up, that's when the whole debacle started. Now, if it's heading and it's actually coming to a conclusion, hopefully we will see those rates come back down. Now, what we are seeing here, if you take a look at that center chart in the middle, our list to sales price is still the same as it was last week. The percentage of days on market, that has not changed. We're still roughly about 8 to 9 days more than where we were at last year. If we take a look at the Northwest MLS running 7-day average, Friday is always a big list day. And what's super amazing is this. So last week, we were about 8% more inventory than where we were at last year. This week, you're going to see we're closer to about 12%. And that's because we saw a big influx of homes coming on Friday. In fact, with our clients, we filtered through about 100 different homes that came on Friday for our different clients as they were, taking a look at, hey, what's a good home and what's not, so they don't receive a bunch of, homes they don't want. We manually send them, but we filtered through a lot, and you can see that here where we had 1,377 come on, and the pendants were 1,160 that went off. So during the week, we were really 1-to-1, and we had that, again, bump on Friday. But look at this. 963 homes actually had a price reduction. That's a bigger number than we normally see. The however is super common this time of year. We still have the July 4th weekend before we conclude our vacation trifecta. And then the market will definitely start to pick up again. Do expect post July 4th to see a number of homes coming on market. That is seasonally normal. All right. So when we come over here, remember, look, our information is super accurate. We go through the metrics each week. Like and subscribe helps build the channel for us and to help others get information. There's no marketing here. So, let's keep that one rolling. Anyway, let's move along. Let's talk about the metrics and what we're seeing. Look at this. So center chart. Pendants are up 14.5%. Sales are up 8.5% for the same month of June year over year. When we compare it to last month, which is the left, you can still see pendants are up about 4.4%. Closings are up 20%. When we take a look at the year to date on the right, pendants are up 3.5%. Solds are off just a tiny little bit, only 149 homes. But if we're up 984 pendant homes, technically we are going to have a net gain of about 135 homes. That is going to be very positive to where we're heading as far as in our market. So the key thing to understand about that, our market is still doing very, very well. We are right on par. Now, are we making any land speed records? The answer is no, we're not. However, we're not going down, we're going flat. And we've been going flat for 3 years now. So it's okay. We're still below levels of where we were at, in 2019 and before, but they are getting better. So as you can see, we've got a 12.3% increase in inventory. Last week it was 8.4. It probably will drop down again next week as people are going to hold off for the 4th of July weekend. Boop, then it's going to pop back up again. Just saying. All right, let's moving on. So when we talk about the average sold for the same month and where we were at last week, we're about $7,000 less than the average sales price. But year to date, we're up 1% or $1,000. Now, what does that mean? And that goes up and down every week. We just monitor it to kind of see, what kind of trends. We were up this week. We were down last week. Next week, we might be up or down. Who knows? But what we look for is the continuous trend of down, 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 or up, 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 up. Right now, we're just kind of riding the wave. And that is very consistent. That tells us we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. On the whole, we're actually doing pretty well. Even year over year, doing quite well in our market. So moving on. All right, let's talk about new construction where we started off. Here we go. Look, pending sales are up 12.4% month over month for the month of June. Okay, and even though we're off on closings just by, I don't know, what is that, 5 homes, which is not a big deal. When we take a look at the year-to-date on the right-hand side, you hear me, you got it written there as better. What does that mean? All of those numbers have improved. They're still in the negative, but they've improved from where they were at last year, and we will continue to more than likely see those trends as we go through the summer. Now, when we talk about the actual sales price, for the month of June, we're actually up roughly about $50,000 this week. When we were taking a look at last month, which is the far left, it's up 10.2%. And then, of course, when we look in the far right, we're off about, $1,000. And so when you look at that and you look at the year to date, if we're off $1,000, we know that we're doing just fine. When we take a look at the center chart, which tells us, hey, our price has actually improved, that goes up and down every single week. Also, it just gives you, again, that trend. Are we going up, 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 down, 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 down? Where are we trending at? And, again, these guys are doing really well because they've got their biggest competition, which are resales. They are still moving forward really well in the market. New construction is still a great opportunity to consider. There's something for you to consider. All right, moving on. Remember, especially now, when you have a lot of influx with mortgage rates, look, it's a free video, 5 questions to ask when getting quoted mortgage rates, like making sure that you're doing it at the same time of day, making sure that you're taking a look at what is actual marketing versus interest rates versus buy down versus points. All of those things, there's no marketing there. It's an 18-minute video. Watch it 5 times. Why? Because you need to understand the questions to ask to save money. But only watch that if you're an artist and saving money. I'm just saying. All right, moving on. So, bank-owned homes, again, even though the numbers look absolutely insane crazy by saying, oh my gosh, we're 42% on inventory. That's 40 homes. That's 3/4 of Washington State. You might say, oh my gosh, we're up 25% for new homes on new foreclosures on the market. That's 8 homes. That's nothing. Solds are up 175%. That's 21 homes. Okay. Pended are up 23.8%. So that's 5 homes. In other words, we're not seeing anything significant. Our numbers for foreclosures are still low. We are nationally one of the lowest foreclosure default rates. Yes, divorce is still the number one reason for defaults. The number one mortgage that's being defaulted on right now are second mortgages. Part of that has to do with available income and whatnot that folks have for a variety of reasons. Will that taper out? High probability. the however it is, our numbers are still amazing out there. So if you have any questions, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Help us to grow our channel. And in the meantime, it's a little cloudy, but it's going to get beautiful. Smash that subscribe button. Hey, leave your comments down below. We always respond to you guys, except for on Sundays. In the meantime, have a beautiful day. Take care.